Morning Cool Running Kitchen is going to be making some sourdough bread. So what we did last night is we took our sleeping starter out of the fridge, divide it into 2 containers, give it some warm water and a little bit of rye flour and let them improve overnight. And as you can see, they're both very active. This one on the left will go back in the fridge and we won't need it again for most likely another week, and we'll divide it again to make a new loaf. This one to the right we've had out this morning, and we're going to start by mixing that with 325 mils of tepid water. You can see our starter is really healthy because it's floating, and then we just want to mix it together with our hand before adding any flour. So we're adding 100 grams of wholemeal flour and 400 grams of good quality plain high-grade flour. Then we're going to mix these together with our hand. Just make sure there's no dry patches. So that's looking good. We're now going to cover it and let it rest for half an hour. So it's time to add our salt, which is half a tablespoon. And just to help that mix in, we're just going to put about 50 mils of tepid water. And then we're going to scrunch it. You can just feel the consistency has started to change, having that resting period before the salt went in, and it's pulling away from the side of the bowl beautifully. So when that salt's all nicely mixed in and we're happy with that consistency, we're going to cover it again and put the timer on for another half an hour. So let's do that. So the next stage is stretching, folding and flipping. So we'll remove the cover, we'll wet our hand, and this encourages the gluten development and the complex of flavors. So we basically bring it over, stretch it, turn it round, lift it, stretch. Now the 2 other directions, lift and stretch, and the last fold, lift and stretch. Finally we just flip it over, which gives it a nice consistency of temperature, and we're going to leave that now for another 30 minutes, and we're going to do this over a period of 2 hours. So we're on the second stretch, fold and flip. So we'll just give it a nice stretch over to the other side, and again a nice stretch. And the 4th one, and then we just want to flip that over to keep that consistency of temperature. There we go. And we're going to cover that for another 30 minutes. Now while that's busily doing its thing, we're just reheating some beautiful snapper that we had last night, and gonna have some nice wraps. So one of the many benefits of the cruising lifestyle is that we eat such beautiful, nutritious and fresh food, and have the time to really enjoy it and make it. On our 4th stretch, fold and turn. So now we're going to leave it covered for 2 hours in a warm place. Have a wee look at this. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. So the next step is pre-shaping, and it builds strength. So we need to put it onto the bench without any flour. We spatula just to help it out. Here she comes. Look at that. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Shaping, we need to flour our hands, and flour the top. So what we're trying to do is start turning it and creating a little bit of tension. And what it does, it sticks to the bottom and starts creating some tension on the top. So we'll just keep going around until we build up a little bit of tension on the top, which you can now just see. It's starting to look glossy. See a little bit of air in there? That's looking beautiful. That should do us, I think. And we're going to rest that again. A little bit of flour on the top. And we're going to give that 30 minutes under its little towel. Now we're ready to put our dough into our proving basket. If you don't have one, just use a bowl like me, and you basically scatter a little bit of flour to line it, and a little bit more flour on the top of our dough. Now, being careful not to lose the air in here, we just want to lift that from the bottom of our work surface, and we want to flip her over. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pull this end, give it a nice tug, and tap it into the middle. Take the sides, give it a nice stretch, place it into the middle. Taking the top, doing the same, over and over again. As we did before, we want to start turning it around, creating that little bit of tension. Just see it starting to get smooth and that tension on the top of your loaf. Okay, now very gently we're going to put it into our proving basket, flipping it over, placing it in. Now, to create a little bit more tightness in that loaf, all we need to do, work our way around, pinching it and bringing it into the center. Keep doing this till we create a nice even tension around the outside of our loaf, pinching that all together. Beautiful. Now we're going to put that into our refrigerator for 12 to 16 hours, and we'll come back in the morning and heat up our oven and see how it looks when we start baking it. Now let's put her into our compressor fridge. We've been waiting for our dough to do its thing. We've been able to put together a nice little smoked blue mackerel kedgeree. So the sun's going down. I think it's time perhaps for gin o'clock. And then so our sourdough has just come out of the fridge. It's rested overnight, and we're just going to sprinkle some semolina over the top, and this will be the bottom of the bread when it's in our Dutch oven. And now we need to get out of our oven, our preheated Dutch oven. So that oven's managed to get up to around about 420, so it's nice and hot. Take our lid off. Oh, and she is smoking. And now for the tricky bit. We now have to take this and drop it semolina side down into the pan. So here we go. Let's see how we can manage this. Oh, beautiful. So the next thing is we want to score that. That gives it that traditional look with the lines on it. So very carefully on a 45-degree angle, we're just going to slide our knife right around, and then we're going to come from the other side, 45-degree angle, slide it right around. Our gloves. Going to pop our lid on, and this is going to go into that very hot oven for 30 minutes. We'll come back after 30 minutes and we're going to take that lid off and do a little bit more cooking. It's been in the oven for 30 minutes. Let's have a look and see what the first 30 minutes has done. Wow, that is looking absolutely gorgeous. So we now pop that back into the oven again for 20 minutes. I'll show you the end result. Now look at this loaf. How absolutely delicious. I hope that I've inspired you to try and make sourdough. Pick her up, put her on there to cool. Let me know, is this something that you can imagine doing yourselves? I can tell you now, it tastes absolutely gorgeous, and I'm sure it's much better for us than shop bought bread. What do you think?